Guys, so for today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the new Milani All-Inclusive Eye, Cheek, and Face Palette. And because I think this is pretty clearly meant to mimic the Charlotte Tilbury Instant Look in a Palette, I thought I would do kind of a side-by-side comparison with the Stoned Rose Instant Look in a Palette with the Milani. So I wanted to say off the bat that the shades aren't identical. So Milani has released two different shade variations. This one is in light to medium, and then I think the other one is like medium to dark, medium to deep. So there's two different shade variations. I have the lighter variation, but looking at the shades in this palette against some of the Charlotte Tilbury, they're not identical. So this one has like a plastic film on that I'll take off in a second, but I don't think they're meant to be exact shade dupes, but the concept is very much the same. So you have a highlighter and bronzer in both, you have 3 eyeshadows, and then you have 2 blushes. So the layout is slightly different, but again, very similar concept. So if you were looking for a drugstore alternative to Charlotte Tilbury for a kind of one and done easy palette, Milani may be a good choice. So I thought you would be able to kind of compare the different looks, see if you liked the Milani compared to the Charlotte Tilbury, and I'll just give you my general thoughts on like the performance and everything like that. And I'll say a little bit about this palette. So I purchased it from the Milani website. I think it may be now at Walmart, but I don't think it's popped up at Ulta yet. Right now it is $14.99 on the Milani website, and I'm not sure if there are any coupons running, but obviously Milani is a drugstore brand, so you can often get discounts on it, especially once it filters into Ulta. So this says, one and so done. Meet the new all-inclusive eye, cheek, and face palette, a curated palette to bring an effortless glow on the go. Featuring 2 blush shades, 3 eyeshadows, a bronzer, and a highlighter, this richly pigmented, ultra-wearable palette is the perfect everything-you-need partner for so many makeup looks. These luxe powder formulas were designed to easily build and blend together so you can go from subtle to strobed with just one palette. And I think this is Leaping Bunny certified cruelty-free, which I don't think Charlotte Tilbury is, so that may be another reason to pick this up over the Charlotte Tilbury. At the Charlotte Tilbury palette, I believe retails for $75, so it's quite a price difference there as well. Okay, so I think that's really all I wanted to tell you. I will kind of show you the deeper variation as well, just so you get an idea of the colors. So the interesting thing about this is it didn't come in any sort of external box, so I'm guessing that's one way they kind of cut down on prices, is to eliminate excess packaging. So it looks like there's like what is it, UPC or whatever on the back, and it has all the ingredients. This is made in Taiwan, and yeah, it says a curated palette of light to medium shades, 7 richly pigmented and effortlessly wearable shades, specially designed to achieve a variety of versatile makeup looks. So this has a 12-month shelf life, and it is magnetic, and there is a mirror, and it says "We are Milani" on the inside. So it's nice that they give you a mirror, because, you know, the idea that this is all you would have to put in your makeup bag, you know, it definitely helps that there's a mirror with such a large palette. There's no kind of makeup Viagra, as Leisha would say, so you would have to kind of prop it up on something or hold it, but that's not the end of the world. There is this like plastic kind of cover on it, and there's little like round pieces of tape, I guess, holding it down. And when I was trying to peel it off, the packaging on the back started to lift as well. So hopefully you can kind of see that. So, you know, that's one thing that you definitely sacrifice a bit with drugstore, is the packaging. So let's try and extricate this. I feel like I should keep an X-Acto knife on my vanity, which is kind of a weird, you know, thing to feel like you need to do. All right, so I'm gonna try and just slice it. So there's still some like residual pieces of tape and everything. I'm trying to recall the last time I bought a Milani palette, if it had an external box or not. The way it came packaged from Milani was inside one of these like bubble mailer type things. Okay, so I was able to kind of peel this off without taking off anything, but now it's kind of like, you know, wrinkled or whatever. So it's not the end of the world. I just mention these things in case you care. It always drives me nuts how drugstore makeup has all these different like labels and tape that you have to remove, and for some, especially when they're on plastic packaging, I feel like I have to take Goo Gone and like remove it, which for a, what is it, $60 price difference, you know, maybe it might be worth taking the time to do that. But if you are more into the kind of experience of luxury makeup and the packaging and everything, maybe Milani isn't for you. So I just mentioned that for your consideration. So this is the Charlotte Tilbury package, you know, very sleek plastic. This is the outer box. I do wish they had kind of included this artwork with the palette, but alas, they didn't. Again, this is the Stoned Rose palette, which is still available. I feel like they've put out various shade variations with this palette, and they haven't done the light and the dark kind of variation that Milani has done, so I applaud Milani for doing that. But Charlotte Tilbury has put out various versions of this over the years, so there may be some that have been discontinued that are more similar to Milani shades. I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, this one has a big mirror inside as well, and you can pretty much get it to stay upright if you so desired. It does kind of go flat, so you could, you know, hold it like this as well. And then of course these are what the shades look like. So now that I've taken the plastic off, try to give you the side by side. So I will swatch these at the end so you can see, you know, the shade comparisons directly, but they're similar, but they're not dupes, I wouldn't say, just based on the shades. So this is really more of a concept dupe than a shade dupe. Okay, so I've already applied my base, and I'll quickly go over everything I've used. I used the Glossier Future Dew, and then I used the Ordinary Serum Foundation in the shade 1.0P, and then I used some of the NARS Light to Vanilla Soft Matte Complete Concealer for some spot correcting, and then I used the Benefit Gimme Brown, the shade 1, the Tarte Creaseless Concealer in the shade, was it 10N maybe? So tried that out. And then I used a couple of Charlotte Tilbury products. I have her, what is this called? Whatever her corrector is called, in the shade 1, underneath my eyes, underneath the concealer. And then I used the Airbrush Flawless Finish powder in the shade 1 Fair to set everything. So I haven't used any like color products unless you count my brows. So because I used some Charlotte Tilbury products, I did kind of powder my face all over. Since these are all powder products, I just wanted to give them as fair a shot at blending well as possible. But since I did use some Charlotte Tilbury products, I thought I would reach for the Milani eyeshadow primer. I know I have other eyeshadow palettes from Milani, but I couldn't remember offhand if I had any other Milani products. But I remember purchasing this, and I know Emily Noel, who I think just uploaded a video on this, she has always really loved this primer, so. I think I will probably set it though with the Charlotte Tilbury powder, because I don't know if there's like a good matte cream shade to set with, so again, I'm trying to do controls to eliminate any like potential variables in performance. So Maybe I'll skip the powder. It feels pretty good. I haven't used this in a while. Okay, so again, I will be using the same brushes on each side to eliminate variables, but I do have the Vermona color switch to clean off my brush to hopefully avoid any sort of like cross-contamination. Not that it's not that serious, it's makeup, but whatever. And again, these are different shades, so I'm not sure how much of a difference there would really be. So I guess I'll start off with the Charlotte Tilbury side, and I think I'll do that on my right side. So here's hoping that I remember that and don't get it mixed up. But again, I'm just gonna do half my face, and then I'll do half my face with the Milani. So I think I'll start off with the eyes. So I'm going to use the Chikuhodo GSN9 brush and start off with the shade 1, which is this lightest one here. And I'm just going to kind of apply that on the inner part of my lid. Inner third to 2/3, I guess. Oh, I almost forgot. It's hard. It's really hard to do this. Okay. So I suppose I could always like wash my face off and start fresh with the Milani, but I really don't want to do that. Okay, so using my MAC 286 brush and the number 3 Enhance, which is a matte. You know, she has all these like descriptors, so she has brighten, enhance, and kind of ruined the embossing, so I'm not sure what it's supposed to be. Smoke printed in there. It does have it on the back too, by the way, so if you ever kind of used up too much product. So she has a lot of kind of instructions for using her products in a certain way, but obviously you can use them however you want. So going back in with the Chikuhodo brush and that middle shade, which is Enhance, and kind of focusing that on the outer third. I think I'll zoom in at the end just because it's a little bit easier to kind of stay in frame this way. Okay, so I think that's really it for the eyes. Pretty simple, quick look, which is I think the whole point. But what I was going to say is that you could always use like the face highlight and the face bronze shades especially as like an easy eye look. Usually that's my kind of go-to, is like a shimmery light shade all over and then a little bit of a matte brown in the crease, you know, easy one and done type thing. Okay, so now that we've had the Charlotte Tilbury applied, the shades are a little bit different. So it looks like there's 2 mattes here and 1 shimmer. So I'm just going to kind of use the shades how I normally would without like paying too much attention to trying to match it, because again, the shades are not the same. Okay, so using this shade here at the top, which looks kind of like a peachy type shade. So I'm gonna apply that in the crease. I'll have to go back for the lower lash line because I forgot to do that. So this is a nice transition shade. And then I'm going to use my Chikuhodo again and go into the middle shade, which looks like a shimmery pink, kind of pink champagne-y type color. See how this applies. See, this is definitely more sparkly. I might go over each of these with a finger. Okay. So going in again with my tapered brush into this darker one and deepening the crease up. This is definitely a lot warmer. Okay, so next up I'm going to take my Rephr number 23 brush, which is a kind of microscopic pencil brush, and I think I'll start off with the lighter matte shade and just run it okay. And then I do need to go back into the Charlotte Tilbury, and I guess I really only have one option. I might have to use the darker matte in the Milani. Just to have a little bit of a semblance of similarity. I've never done a video like this, I don't think, so it's really interesting. Okay, so I will say I think the Charlotte Tilbury like packaging, like the mirror is just a little bit easier to use, so you can take that for what it's worth. Okay, so making sure I go in with the right side. So getting some of that Milani shade on my finger. Wow, you can see that definitely has a lot more payoff. Very pretty though. You know, in a way, it's almost better to have shades that are a little bit more, well, I take it back. So I was gonna say for a like travel or easy, like everyday type palette, it's almost better to have shades that are a little less pigmented or less intense because they're a little bit more forgiving and you don't have to worry about blending them or fallout necessarily. But I think as we just kind of demonstrated, you can use a brush and get a more subtle result, or you can use a finger and get something that's a little bit more impactful. So it is nice that you have that option in how you apply things. Okay, so going into the Brighten shade, this is definitely more of a satin. So you're just not gonna get the same kind of effect as you would with the Milani, which is maybe what you want. All right, so going into number 2, Enhance. Okay, so I think that's really it, aside from liner and mascara. I will be using, I think, the same liner and mascara on each side. So I will zoom you guys in here. So again, this is the Charlotte Tilbury side, and this is the Milani side. All right, so just trying to use kind of neutral eyeliner. I have the Wander Beauty Bronzed Brown. I might actually have some Milani eyeliners now that I think about it, but okay, I just got a little bit on my lid that I might have to go over. Okay, and then using the Clinique Bottom Lash mascara on both sides. And then finally curling my lashes with my Surratt eyelash curler and applying the Tarte Lights Camera Splashes. All right, so I'll zoom you guys in again now that the liner and mascara is applied. Okay, so I think I'll start off with the bronzer. So using my Refer number 22 brush and going into the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer here. This is a big brush for, I mean, it's a decent sized pan, but it's certainly not like full bronzer size, so. I do have, by the way, the Film Star Bronze and Glow and the airbrush bronzer. So I haven't used this particular palette a ton, but I'm somewhat familiar with those formulas. Okay, so that's typically where I apply bronzer. I would do contour like underneath in my jawline, in my nose, but that's typically where I apply bronzer. So again, using the color switch, and then going into the Milani bronzer, which is more of a little square pan. I'm curious, by the way, where does it say the net weight? Okay, so I'd have to do math. I'll just put the net weight difference, I guess, in the instruction box, because like they divide it by grams and ounces, and I can't do that on the fly, so I can't add it all up. All right, so I think the Milani bronzer is a little bit like more yellow. So hopefully you can see the difference there. So that's, again, Milani, that's Charlotte Tilbury. Okay, so normally what I do next is to apply blush. So the way that Charlotte Tilbury labels things, she has a swish and a pop shade, which is how she does her normal blushes. You have the outer ring that you're supposed to kind of do a wider area and then pop something on the apples of your cheek. So again, these are kind of smaller sizes. Okay, so I have a clean Refer number 4. So I think I'll use that for this lighter swish shade in the middle. And I don't like to apply things too far down on my cheek because I think it kind of like drags my face down. So I try to kind of, you know, keep my blush placement a little bit further back. All right, so again, trying to get that powder off and then going in with, so this is interesting because they have more of a matte blush and then more of a shimmery blush. So I don't think they're meant to be used in the same way. I'll just go into the matte blush and apply it kind of the same general area. Okay, so that is with the matte Milani, and that is with the lighter Charlotte Tilbury blush. Okay. A lot of back and forth. All right, so then going in with my Refer number 5 brush. Again, making sure that's clean. And then I'm going to use the the Pop shade. Hopefully I can get my brush in. This is the darker blush. So focus that a little bit more in the Appley region, I guess. I'm going to be very blush today. Okay. And then looking on camera, it doesn't look as blended as it could be. But I guess this is why I like to kind of take a different approach to my blush. I think that's a little better. Okay, and then same brush again. Putting that on the color switch. And I'm very curious about this like more shimmery blush shade. Okay, so I'm just kind of going all over because it's more of like, I guess how you would use like a blush topper. And then I think the only thing left is the highlighter. So I'm going in a little bit heavier, I have to say, than I might otherwise because I want you to be able to see the color. So don't judge my application skills too harshly here. This is more of a, I don't know, an experiment than anything else. All right, so going in with the face highlighter shade in Charlotte Tilbury on the Anastasia 823 brush. And that is what Charlotte Tilbury looks like. And then finally, the Milani highlighter. It does, with this brush anyway, kick up a bit in the pan. I think the Milani highlighter is darker. This is more of like a white gold. This one's more like gold, I think. Okay, so I think that's it for the palette. So I'm gonna apply some lipstick here. And I thought I would use the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk 3 Intense. I have a little sample. Okay, so what I thought I would do is first take my hair down. All right, so I have a whiteboard, basically. So I guess I'll use the gray side. Is it better to use the gray side or the white side? So this is the Milani makeup. And that is the Charlotte Tilbury makeup. All right, so that is the Milani makeup. And that is the Charlotte Tilbury makeup. And that's them both side by side. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do some swatches for you guys of the comparative products side by side, and then I'll come back for my final thoughts. Okay, so these are the two palettes side by side. We have the Charlotte Tilbury on the top and the Milani on the bottom. So we have the 3 eyeshadow shades, the bronzer and the highlighter, and then the 2 blush shades. So hopefully you can get a good look at the differences there. Okay, so I'm gonna go over my cheeks with just a little bit of loose powder because, like I said, I did go in a little intense here. So going in again with the Charlotte Tilbury, I don't think this is going to kind of affect any comparisons. It's just, you know, Kind of blending things out a bit. Okay, so I think that's a little bit better. Okay, so what do I think? So obviously there is a huge price difference here. So if Charlotte Tilbury isn't in your budget, then by all means go for the Milani. If you don't purchase from Charlotte Tilbury because she's not cruelty free, then by all means purchase from Milani. If I were to critique both palettes strictly on their merits without the price taken into consideration, I think I do prefer the Charlotte Tilbury packaging. Obviously at this price point it should be more luxurious, it should be a little bit more substantial than kind of this standard cardboard, but like I said, you're looking at like a $60 price difference here. So for the actual shade, so I would say the Milani definitely has a shade that will give you more of an impact, that sort of richly pigmented kind of metallic shade. The Charlotte Tilbury shades are going to be a little bit more subtle. I do prefer the tones of the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer and highlight though. I think, especially for my skin tone, they're a little bit more flattering. And as you maybe can tell, I'm pretty neutral leaning cool, so sometimes shades of bronzer can look really yellow or orange on me. So I definitely like the bronzer and the highlighter shades in the Charlotte Tilbury. The Milani shade looks to be kind of more foiled and metallic, the highlighter, so you could probably use that on your eyes as well if you wanted to. I do think I like the eye look of the Milani a little bit better, but I think the Charlotte Tilbury is probably a little bit like easier everyday type thing. And then with the blushes, I think both are pretty. I think it might just come down to which shades you prefer, if you like a more shimmery blush or if you like something a little bit more satin matte. So yeah, minus the price point, I think it might just come down to preference in terms of the shades you like, the formulas that you like. I don't think the quality of either is bad by any means. So I would definitely recommend looking into this palette at this price point. And it's pretty compact. It's, you know, it's good packaging. It's decent packaging. It's just not like high-end packaging, which is fine because it's a drugstore brand. So yeah, so I hope you guys found that helpful, this kind of side-by-side comparison. Again, this isn't an explicit dupe of the Charlotte Tilbury, but if you were looking for this kind of functionality in a single palette, then I definitely think it's worth looking into. Alright, so I think that's going to do it for me, guys. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more from me, please do subscribe down below. I do hauls and reviews and unboxings of like subscription boxes, all that kind of thing. So lots of variety on this channel for you to check out. And I hope you guys are all staying very safe and healthy out there, and I will talk to you very soon.